The Gang's All Here was a film from 1941 with a story about a trucking company that has fallen victim to some pesky saboteurs. It starred Frankie Darro, Mantan Moreland, Marcia Mae Jones, and Jackie Moran. It was directed by Jean Yarbrough, who was a director of some other films I've reviewed on this channel like The Devil Bat and King of the Zombies. Honestly, I've been on a Mantan Moreland kick lately and thought I'd check this one out. I mean, it's about trucking and sabotage with a little comedy, but yeah, I liked it. I'll summarize the story and then give some closing thoughts.
What do you want, the whole road? Not with that bird. He drives like he's crazy. Why, the dirty vultures. So that's their gag, huh? All right, I can play that way, too.
The film opens up with scenes of various truck drivers being driven off the road by some ne'er-do-wells. One truck goes way off a cliff, and it's a pretty cool effect, actually. Well, back at this trucking place, men are all quitting left and right because of this sabotage. So an ad is placed, looking for new truck drivers. And we cut over to the character Frankie, played by Frankie Darro, and Mantan Moreland as the character Jeff. And they find out about the jobs driving trucks available. And they appear to be homeless, I think. Jeff was kind of there sleeping under some newspapers. And Frankie wants a job. But Jeff isn't too into the idea initially, but eventually they both head off to ask about the job. Now, meanwhile, the character Chick, played by actor Jackie Moran, is hard at work on a truck, while his sweetie Patsy, played by actress Marcia Mae Jones, is there vying for his attention. Things like, I made apple turnovers today, that sort of thing. The character Pop shows up, actor Robert Homans, to find out if the truck is ready that Chick has been working on. Now, Frankie and Jess show up while Pop is gone, and they want to know about the job, and Patsy goads Chick into being the one to hire them, which he does. Now, Pop shows up and is questioning who are these guys, but eventually approves of them, and off they go on that spot driving the truck together. $1 an hour. What a great gig.
Hey, Jeff, ain't that another truck following us? Take a look in that mirror.
Sure enough.
That's funny. Wonder where he came from.
I don't know. The rate we've been going, I wouldn't be surprised if we passed him and didn't know it.
Well, Pop calls up character Saunders, played by Irving Mitchell, and tells him to leave this new truck alone, because it turns out he is sort of in this insurance scheme with this other guy. It's a couple accidents for some insurance money, but Pop doesn't want this new driver to get hurt because it's a young guy, but it's too late. And soon enough, these thugs are driving behind Frankie and Jeff and try to drive them off the road, but Frankie decides to race with them and speeds up, and wouldn't you know it, some motorcycle cops pull him over for speeding. So they were saved from the bad guys, but they're left with a speeding ticket. Now, back at the shop, Pop is visited by George Lee, who's played by legendary actor Keye Luke. Remember Grandfather from the Gremlins? Yeah, that's him. It's like a young guy. It's amazing. But he's looking for a job with his trucking company, and he's very enthusiastic. He speaks fluent English, as apparently he was born in San Francisco, and he gets the job right away to help at this trucking company.
I'm afraid you've come to the wrong place to look for a job.
Oh, I'm not looking for a job.
No?
That is, I don't expect to get paid.
Well, I couldn't...
You see, Uncle and I thought maybe you wouldn't mind if I just sort of stood around and watched how you do things.
Yeah, but...
I wouldn't be in the way. As a matter of fact, I have a pretty good education. I might even be able to help.
All right, you've got yourself a job.
Oh, gee, thanks, Mr. Wallace. When do I start?
Tomorrow will be soon enough.
Okay, I'll be here. Johnny on the spot.
Well, the bad truck drivers, they show up to meet with their boss, this character Jack Norton, played by actor Ed Cassidy. And they want out of this mess because, they don't like killing people. But Norton tells them that they can't because they'll be set up for murder. And he tells them to take out those two new drivers because they've got no business driving a truck. Well, back at the garage, Frankie helps teach Jeff how to drive a truck.
All right, now look, watch out. The road's pretty tricky here.
Look, I'm a good driver, huh?
You know, we'll see how good you are. I want to see how you'd react to an emergency. Now look, Jeff. You got your truck in low gear.
Low gear.
You're going down a long, steep grade.
A long, steep grade.
That's right. All right, now look. All of a sudden, you start gaining speed. You're going 45. Now you're going 50. 55. 60.
65. 70. 75. Boy, am I fast.
Watch it, Jeff. Jeff, you're in trouble. Your clutch is slipping.
Yes, where?
Not you, the truck.
Oh.
Now go on. 75. We're rolling along. We're getting out of control. The truck is zigzagging back and forth, back and forth. We almost turn over, Jeff. We're going faster, faster. Jeff, we're going to crash. There's only one thing to do, Jeff. What is it?
Jump. Let me out of here. Let me out.
Well, Frankie and Jeff set out on another drive, and Chick and Patsy are washing some dishes together. And it's mostly a lot of dialogue of Patsy saying things like, "Why can't you be more like Frankie?" She really lays it on pretty thick with this guy, and it doesn't go quite how she imagined it was going to.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, he knows what he wants and gets it. And he doesn't take anything from anybody.
All right, all right. So what do you want me to do? Challenge Joe Louis?
No, all I want you to do is to be a man. Don't have suppressed desires. Do what you want to do, not what somebody tells you.
No suppressed desires, huh? Do what I want to do.
Yeah, that's right.
So Frankie and Jeff, they're driving along, and well, the film quality starts to get a little grainy at this point. I guess this being a public domain film and the scene is supposedly at night, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, but it's what you get when you watch an old Poverty Row film, I suppose. Frankie does the best he can to avoid the evil truck drivers, but they manage to drive him and Jeff off the road. Now, they survive the crash, but the guys show up to fight with them, and, well, Frankie fights with them, not so much Jeff.
What's the matter with you, you big palooka? Don't you know how to drive a truck?
Take it easy, buddy. You'll have to get hurt.
Keep your dukes off him.
Wait a minute, mister. Don't hit me. I'm for appeasement.
Well, Pop finds out about the accident. He wants out of all of this mess completely. Now, meanwhile, the guys, Frankie and Jeff, they're brought back to stay under the watch of the character Ham Shanks, actor Lawrence Kreiner, who holds them at gunpoint. I love that name, by the way, Ham Shanks. That's great. But Frankie, he's able to make a break for it, and they tie up Ham Shanks, and they get out of there, and they escape in a truck. Now, George Lee speaks to Pop and reveals that, yeah, he knows what's going on, that he is actually an investigator with the company, trying to figure out what's the fishy deal with all these accidents going on. And Pop is ready to work with him and take care of all of this business. Now, Frankie and Jeff get back and discover that the boxes that they have been carrying around are actually just filled with bricks. Yeah, there's really something fishy going on here. Pop gets injured by someone. They find him laying on the ground. And the guys start to put things together, and they hatch a plan to stop these bad guys once and for all. Now, with only a few minutes left of this film, I'll let you check out the ending for yourself. Honestly, it's maybe a little anticlimactic, but everything sort of wraps up nicely at the end, and it's still an enjoyable film just the same. So some closing thoughts about this film. The Gang's All Here came out in 1941. It was produced by Monogram Pictures. Pretty sure it's in the public domain now because this was one of those Poverty Row studios, and there's a million copies of this film on YouTube. But all of the copies I found for this review were fairly low quality, but I did the best I could. You know, I thought it was an enjoyable film. This is maybe not the greatest. If you want a lot of Mantan Moreland, though, you're going to have to stick with another film like King of the Zombies, as unfortunately he just wasn't in this film enough, in my opinion. I did like his pairing with actor Frankie Darro, however. I thought the two of them made a fun comedy duo. You know, Darro sort of plays this headstrong little guy who gets into fights, gets into scraps, and Moreland's just wanting to avoid trouble completely. And the two of them, I thought, worked well together in this film. And apparently, they've paired up in several films, so we'll have to watch for some of those in the future. This film is not to be confused with The Gang's All Here from 1943, which was one of those Busby Berkeley films, you know, with all the elaborate dance numbers, you know, like Gold Diggers, We're in the Money, you know, all that stuff. You know, strange, I don't think I've ever reviewed any Busby Berkeley films on this channel, but I really should. They're really neat. But I don't think I dig into the 1930s enough. Oh, that spicy pre-Hays Code era, you know. And, you know, I tried to research into this film, but I did not find a lot of trivia or details on, like, Internet Movie Database or anything. And I also don't get the title. The Gang's All Here, you know, sounds almost like a Little Rascal story. And maybe a more fitting title for this film would have been, you know, The Dangerous World of Truck Driving or something like that. And yeah, I'm really stretching this one, I think. So instead, I'm going to ramble on a little bit about the actor Keye Luke, who was briefly in this film. He's well known as Lee Chan of the 13 Charlie Chan films that began back in the late 1930s, and also as Kato from The Green Hornet in those serials. The Gordon Jones Green Hornet of the 40s, not the Van Williams 60s era's Green Hornet, but different Kato. Kato of the 60s was played by Bruce Lee, of course. But to go down a different thread of geekery, I remember Keye Luke most clearly from 2 episodes of Miami Vice back in the 1980s, strangely enough. The episodes were the 2-part Golden Triangle episodes in which Keye Luke played General Lao Lee. He was the nemesis to Police Lieutenant Martin Castile. In those 2 episodes, Keye Luke's character was this dangerous and manipulative character. Basically, his story was that he had retired to Florida and he was removed from organized crime and the opium trade, but we know better. That was far from the case. He was still very much in the game. Those episodes were excellent, and, you know, that's honestly, when I think of Keye Luke, those are the 2 that come to mind, but he has quite an extensive range of film and shows that he's been in. He's a great actor. I'll have to track down more of his stuff in the future. Well, that's my thoughts on The Gang's All Here from 1941. It was an entertaining movie about truck heists with a few laughs on the way. It's, okay, maybe not the greatest film ever. And it's not enough Mantan Moreland for my liking. But you know what? I still enjoyed it. It's a good film and it's worth checking out.